Hey, how's it going guys? Blue Tempest here, and welcome to another manga reading log. That is something I have not said in quite a while. Yeah, it just feels like I haven't done a proper reading log in a long time, and I was just kind of sitting here thinking of what video to drop this week because I have some videos that I have planned, but those videos require a little bit more extra time for me, so I decided, you know what, let me update you guys on all of the manga that I've been reading. These are all things that I have started reading since the beginning of 2023. So if you do enjoy this video, then make sure to leave a like and also subscribe to the channel for more manga content. If you do enjoy my content, then make sure to hit that notification bell. That way you can get notified every time I upload a brand new video, and also follow me on all of my social media accounts, which are going to be listed down below in the description. But with all of that out of the way, let's get into all of these manga series. I want to go through these as fast as I can to not make this video any longer than it needs to be, but first I do want to start off with shouting out some manga that Starfruit Books sent over to me. If you did watch my recent manga haul, I did mention that they sent me their entire catalog of physical manga, and I read all of them for me to talk about in this video. They are a smaller independent publisher, so I did want to, give all of these a shot and, let you guys know what I thought of them. So first off, I do want to start with these two one-shot little like chapter length volumes that they sent me. So to start off, my thoughts on When Pink Rain Falls. This one is a pretty wholesome little slice of life manga. I thought this was going to be a BL, and while it's kind of implied, nothing romantic really happens in this story. It's just kind of a little cutesy slice of life story about a flower shop, and I thought it was cute, not necessarily anything that was too mind-blowing or anything like that. But if this seems like it's something up your alley, then I would say definitely check it out. And then the other one is Shieko Sho. This was honestly my least favorite out of all of the Starfruit Books stuff that I read. This one's literally only like 15 or 14 pages. I can't show any of the art in here because it's intended for very mature audiences, as you can see by the explicit warning there. And yeah, this one is just pretty weird. This is pretty weird. I would even say this is weird in a kind of Shuzo Oshimi way with, how sexual it is. But at the same time, I do think that this is actually weirder than anything that Oshimi has ever written. So that's kind of saying something. I'm not sure who I would really recommend this to, but if you're into just like indie manga that are just really weird, I would say, maybe give this a shot. But yeah, I was not really a huge fan of it. But moving on, I did check out Not All Girls Are Stupid, and I did, enjoy this one overall. This is a short story collection, and this is, I believe, a josei manga. So this, alongside another series that I'll talk about later in the video, is my first foray into josei, which I'm pretty proud of myself for because I've always wanted to, dive into some other manga demographics such as shoujo and josei. So yeah, this one is also very mature. I would say if you're under the age of 18, definitely don't read this because, like I said, very mature, very sexual in nature. Pretty much all the short stories kind of deal with those topics and women dealing with some of those type of situations. And yeah, like I said, the short stories in here are kind of a mixed bag for me. Some I did really enjoy, some I didn't like so much. Overall, like I said, I did enjoy this little short story collection. Some of the stories in here, I will say, did not really age too well. So you got to go into this knowing that, this was written in the 90s and stuff like that. But, overall, I thought it was a pretty unique little short story collection. If you're into josei manga, if you're into, a more mature read, I would definitely say check this out. Also, the art style is very, very unique as well. But moving on, we have Young Alive in Love, also from Starfruit Books. This is my favorite out of all of the Starfruit Books series that they sent me. I actually did really, really enjoy this one. This one, I will say, has a very, very simplistic art style. As you can see, some of the panels barely have any art whatsoever. But yeah, this series reminds me a lot of Fooly Cooly. It gives me those kind of vibes, and I'm a huge Fooly Cooly fan, so I definitely liked the vibe of this story. I'm really intrigued as to what's going to happen. It's only 3 volumes long, so it's also not going to be a huge commitment as well. I don't think volume 2 is out yet, but whenever that does come out, I will definitely want to read it. Starfruit Books, if you're watching this, I would love for you guys to send me volume 2 whenever that comes out. But yeah, so if you enjoy weird coming of age stories, I would definitely recommend Young, Alive, in Love. And then the final volume that Starfruit Books sent me was The Town of Pigs, and this one is the one that has the most hype surrounding it. Personally, I thought it was okay. I like some horror manga, but I'm not super into it. But I would say if you're a Junji Ito enjoyer, you'd probably really enjoy this series. I thought that the art was really, you know, unique. It's very dark, and a lot of the stuff in here is, you know, also very graphic and violent and very disgusting. This one is about a town that gets taken over by demons and they turn everybody into pigs. And that's pretty much the extent of what this manga is about. There's not a lot of depth to it in terms of the story or the plot. And that's why I'm usually not as into some of these horror series. Like I said, there are some that I have enjoyed in the past, but you know, this one I thought was just kind of okay, but you know, still really unique in terms of the art style and stuff like that. And this was also made in the 80s, if I'm not mistaken. So you also kind of have to take that into account when reading it. But you know, if you're a horror manga fan, definitely check out The Town of Pigs. But that does it for all of the manga that Starfruit Books sent me. So thank you to Starfruit Books for sending me these again. I really do appreciate it. But moving on into some of the other manga series that I've started reading. First off is Lament of the Lamb. This is one that I picked up the first 3 volumes for, and I've so far only read this first volume. And you know, I thought this one was just kind of okay. It's piqued my interest a little bit, but I need to read volume 2 and 3 before deciding on whether or not I should, you know, continue the series or drop it. So far, I'm not super mind blown by this first volume, but this is a vampire manga series with some psychological elements. I thought I was gonna get into more of a happiness type of vibe, you know, by Shuzo Oshimi. And while this kind of has a similar premise and setup, the vibes are completely different. I think this is a lot slower in pace. I don't know if it's the translation or what, but the dialogue in this is kind of stiff. There's not a lot of personality with the characters, and honestly, a lot of characters look very similar, so it's hard to kind of keep track of who's who. And it doesn't help when sometimes the paneling makes it kind of confusing as to, you know, who's saying what. So I didn't really find that aspect of the story to be enjoyable, but also the story itself I thought was just, you know, kind of okay. I'm going to continue with at least volume 2 before I decide on, you know, dropping this. So we'll see what happens, but if you guys have read the series, let me know what you think of it down in the comments. But moving on, we have Nodame Cantabile. I don't know if that's how you actually say the name of this series, but this is one that I actually picked up very recently. This wasn't even in my last haul, so you guys will see this in the next haul. And I did pick up the first 3 volumes. I've read up to halfway through volume 3, so I decided, you know what, let me talk about it in this video. This is a very critically acclaimed josei manga series, and this is the other josei that I mentioned earlier. I really did enjoy this series for the most part. I do think there are some issues, and the issues kind of are because of the age of this manga. This is a 90s series, and some of the things in here did not age well at all. This is a manga you cannot take too seriously, as there's a lot of comedy, and a lot of the comedy is kind of that like slapstick humor, like people hitting other people over the head with frying pans and stuff like that. Things that honestly, if they were to be taken seriously, should not be okay. But obviously that's not really the case in this manga. It's really for comedic effect. So you got to go into it with that in mind. There's also a character who's a teacher who's very problematic, I will say. I thought that that teacher character was not going to be as, you know, prevalent in the story as he actually ends up being. So, you know, hopefully they kind of tone that aspect down going forward. But overall, I did enjoy this manga enough to go back to the used bookstore and pick up a couple more of the volumes they had that I didn't pick up last time. And yeah, Nodame Cantabile is a really, really fun series. I do like the comedy in here. I love the characters. I think the characters are what makes this manga. The main two characters here are just so lovable. I just love the amount of personality that they have, and I do like the music aspect as well. As someone who has studied music in the past, I really do enjoy that aspect of the series, and I also like that it is in a college setting as well. Like I said, I do find some of the scenarios in here really funny and enjoyable, and there are some wholesome moments as well. Just know that there are some kind of problematic aspects to the story that didn't quite age well. But despite that, I did end up really liking this series, and I'm going to continue picking these volumes up when I do see them. This is a very out of print series, so I don't know if I'm going to be able to complete the set. It's also not fully complete in English either. This was printed by Del Rey, and they didn't actually end up completing the entire series in English. So, you know, I'm going to continue it. I'm going to keep reading. And once I get there, I'll probably just end up reading the rest digitally online. So yeah, that is my thoughts on this series. The next manga series that I want to talk about is Helk with the first volume. This is a recent release by Viz Media under the Shonen Sunday line, as you can see here. And this was a series that I actually did enjoy from this first volume. I know that there's some people in the community who didn't like this first volume. Personally, I enjoyed it. It's nothing too unique per se. This is just a fantasy story, but it is kind of intriguing. I do like the cast of characters. I think the reason why a lot of people don't like this is because the pacing is kind of slow in the beginning. There's a lot of lore and world building that gets thrown at you. And so if you're not really into that sort of thing, I could see this, you know, turning off a lot of readers. But personally, I stuck through with it. I read the entirety of this volume, and by the end, I did enjoy it. This is also another one of those manga that, you know, isn't to be taken too seriously. There's a lot of comedy in here, and I did find some of these scenarios to be pretty funny. This is a series that's kind of hard to explain, but the gist of it is that there's this character named Helk, who is this really, you know, buff dude, very heroic looking and stereotypical for, you know, a just fantasy hero type of guy. He hates all other humans. So he enters this tournament to become the next Demon Lord, and this character in the front, who is our main character, she is, I believe, some sort of demon, and demons and humans have been, you know, in conflict for years. So she hates all humans, and she doesn't trust Helk. So there is a little bit of a mystery there, because we don't know if Helk is on the side of the humans or the side of the demons. Seems like we're gonna find out next volume, maybe. But yeah, I did really enjoy this first volume. I'll be picking up volume 2. It's definitely something that I'm just going to, you know, keep reading volume by volume to see, you know, whether or not I want to continue collecting it. But as of right now, I did enjoy it. And then the final series I do want to talk about in this video is Emma, the series that recently got reprinted by Kaoru Mori. This is my first exposure to Mori's work, as I decided, because I have this series complete now, I wanted to read this before I dived into A Bride Story. And man, this is the best manga series out of all the ones I talked about in this video, so I did save the best for last. But Emma is such a beautiful manga. I only read this first omnibus so far, but man, it was just so good. I love the historical aspect. I love the way that Mori writes romance, and I love the art style. There's a lot of moments where there's no dialogue and it's just panels, but you get so much emotion and just so much context out of that. It does remind me of some of, you know, the way that Oshimi does his art, and I really, really do love that aspect of this series. I also love the, you know, main characters here of Emma and also Prince William. This is a love story between the two, and William, he's a noble, whereas Emma is a maid and she's just like a common girl, and society doesn't want them to be together. But I am just rooting for them. I just want them to be together. I want them to be happy. The first half of this omnibus starts out kind of episodic, but I did honestly love every single chapter. And then towards the end of this omnibus, it gets kind of sad. I'm not gonna lie, it gets kind of emotional, and you know, we're left on a really big cliffhanger at the end of this omnibus, so I cannot wait to continue binging this series. If you like romance, if you like historical series, Kaoru Mori does a great job making the reader feel immersed in this time period of historical England. And yeah, if anything I said about Emma interests you, then I implore you to check this series out, especially with the recent restocks. But with that, that does it for this manga reading log. I hope you guys did enjoy it. Let me know down in the comments what manga series you guys have been reading, and also let me know if you guys have read any of the manga series that I mentioned in this video. But with that, I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.